4. Tonight we have lost one of our players due to life interfering with role playing. That sometimes happens. So we are sad to see Riley go, and I will be taking up the mantle of Evaristo until such time as you guys return to town or Evaristo meets his end, which I hope won't happen, but it might. So a little recap is in order, has been requested, and I'm going to do a little screen sharing here. See if I can get this. There we go. Okay. So here we have an overview of the Pantanal, if everybody recalls. This expedition started in the coastal city of Peniscalto to the northeast there. You guys you've traveled for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is your 6th day out in the wild. With a couple of little incidents along the way, as indicated on the path. You reached the Cave of Bright Crystal after ascending this crazy staircase built by the dwarves, cut by the dwarves into the face of this cliff, and reached the Aidit Omaksuvat, which is the that upper kind of tier of the mountains there. And from there, you find your way up the hillside of Mount Isto and into the Cave of Bright Crystal, where, in short order, you encountered these 2 folks. Brother Brass, the halfling acolyte of Asabio the Wise, and Ozana, the elf fighter for hire, whose 3rd companion, Teresa, was unceremoniously crushed by some kind of dwarven security measure. And after kind of making sure that these 2 folks were not going to cause you harm, and given the fact that they were kind of embarked on the same kind of task as you, which is to retrieve as much of the alleged bright crystal as possible from these caves, you decided to at least temporarily join forces. So after getting through the doorway that was trapped and making your way down a long sloping stone passage with a series of short, it was like 30 feet and then 5 steps down and then another 30 feet and 5 steps down. You're about a quarter of a mile into the mountain by Amu's estimate. And at this point, you've reached a juncture, which is you are, the passageway ends and breaks off into basically 8 different angled, smaller corridors going in different directions. And, poking your head in there and sticking out a torch, you can see that any one of these corridors, and after a short distance, then angles off or divides into 2. So you appear to have come to some sort of underground labyrinth or maze. And before venturing into it, if that is what you are going to do, it is pretty much the time of day when you guys need to make camp and eat some food before you go any further. So what I'll say about this place where you're at is that it's bitterly, bitterly cold. Like you're pretty much chilled to the bone. I think Amu and Tio are a little hardier and a little used to the harsh conditions like this. So you guys aren't really too put out by it, but everybody else in the party is close to shivering from the cold. It's really, really incredibly cold. And does anybody remember who was holding the torch?
I have one.
Okay.
And I think Zana had another one.
And you guys they're both lit?
I've got one lit, and I think you said Ozana lit one, so.
Oh, Ozana lit one, okay. Thank you for remembering that. Okay, so Ozana's got one lit as well. And at this point, mark a duration on that torch, Amu, that you have lit. And I will do the same for Ozana's torch. So basically, you're at the point where you're going to need to make camp right here in this underground passage, unless somebody has another idea. Oh, and is there any other part of that recap? Is there anything else that I didn't cover, or that somebody has a question about?
I think I had already marked a duration on the torch before. Should I mark another one?
No. If that was recently done, like right before we ended last time, that's fine.
I don't remember. Probably.
I have a note about Saldari.
Soldari is the god of the sun. So Brother Bras is a kind of. You remember how at the beginning when we set up the campaign, there was this thing where the philosophers and wise men and wizards were kind of being persecuted. And the persecutors are this. There's kind of an inquisition going on with the Church of the Sun. So Brother Bras, as an acolyte of this god of knowledge and luck, has a bounty on his head. And I think Ozana told you about that. So that's why Soldori's name came up. Soldori is the god of the sun.
Cool.
Any other cryptic notes that we can decipher?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So we're going to start off just with you guys making camp here. So everybody has to consume a ration.
Oh, I have a question. Is it unnaturally cold for a cave? Is it like there's something else going on that making it that cold, or is it just chilly as a cave would be?
Well, I have a question about Amu's background. Did you grow up in like subterranean? Like, is your community kind of a cave? Community?
That's a good question. I always pictured her sort of as a farmer. Whether or not they had any caves that they would go do stuff in. Probably they would go to find any underground spots that they could, just being dwarves. But they didn't have anything like this, I don't think.
So perhaps her home community was a little more surface bound, but they still have the kind of caves in their blood, and they would go explore or seek out those places.
Yeah, dig holes and climb into them.
So how deep do you think she's gone before? Like, has she ever gone this far into a mountain?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, it's certainly colder than she's ever felt. Whether it's due to some unnatural force, impossible for her to say.
Okay. Well, I have a bedroll. I don't know if anybody else has any thing to make themselves comfortable.
I don't have any rations left.
You're like at 0, or after eating right now you're at 0?
I'm at 0 right now.
I have 3 after what I just ate.
So of course Evaristo, noticing that Theo is out of food, of course offers. He's already eating, but he offers you the last remaining ration that he has in his pack. Here, my friend. Together in Karakal, we must sustain each other.
Oh. Thank you, my friend.
Okay, so you've eaten, and now Evaristo's out as well. So we got 2 people with 0 rations at this point. Just curious, as you guys are going through making your preparations, eating your dried meat or whatever it is. Claudio, Amu, and Saphira, well, how much food you guys have in store?
Got 3.
I'm at 0.
I have 3.
Okay, and Claudio's at 0 too.
How many does Evaristo have?
I think he was 0.
He just
Yeah,
gave his last
yeah.
one to Tio. So between you guys, you have 6 right now. You do notice that Ozana and Bras, as they are kind of like going through their packs and preparing their meals, that their packs appear to be laden with food. And Ozana actually kind of casts a kind of doubtful glance at Tio and Evaristo as it's clear to her that you guys have that the two of them have just eaten their last rations.
We're going to be in rough shape if we climb out of here without any food.
You are 6 days from home. It's always possible to hunt and perhaps come across food some other way, but yeah. So that's a potential problem you have to deal with.
Well, they have enough for 3 people, so hopefully we can get some from them later.
Yeah. You want to ask? No, I'm just kidding. We'll see what happens. Does anybody want to? Let me think here. Claudio, how do you feel about being so far underground? Have you ever been in this kind of place before?
Oh, no, I'm definitely out of my element. I feel nervous, but trying to be brave.
Trying not to let on that you're a little nervous.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, as long as the walls aren't getting tighter, then.
Well, in fact, so the place you're in right now is about, say, 15 feet wide. That's where you guys are kind of camping here. But just where it sort of breaks off into these smaller passages, each one of those is probably only about 4 feet wide and about 8 feet high. So then it starts to get a little on the narrow side as far as that goes. So maybe Claudio's eyeing those passages with a little, reservation. Is anybody chatting with anybody else? And if not, we can just roll to pass the night.
I'll chat with Ozana.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I'm curious. We heard about what's his face? Her brother bro.
With brother, you heard about Brother Ross. You heard about his background.
Yeah. But I don't. Did we hear much about Ozana? I don't think we did.
No. You didn't. And just to remind you what you're looking at here.
I love Mean Girls.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, do you see that sort of tube she has wrapped around her?
Yeah.
That's some kind of gourd, it's you determined that it's filled or partly, there's some remaining anyway, some kind of alcoholic drink, some kind of elven moonshine fills up that gourd, and she occasionally takes little swigs from the tube up on her shoulder there. Yeah, so how do you start a conversation with her?
Well, I guess as we're eating our relatively meager rations, how did we decide how common elves are in this world, or do we know?
Well, when you're rolling up a character, you need to roll I think a 12 to be an elf on most. They're quite rare. They're the rarest of the main species.
Okay, gotcha.
Not unheard of, and in fact, in Peniscalta, you may have seen 1 or 2 here or there in the city. So they're not completely unheard of, but interactions with them might be on the rare side, yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I guess I kind of sidle up to her and say, so where are you from? How far are you from home are you?
I'm just gonna have you roll to keep company right off the bat.
Okay.
So that's just 2d6 straight up. You don't have any bonds with her yet, so
Okay.
just
So
2d6.
charisma doesn't do anything in this.
In this case, well, let's see. Yeah, nope, it doesn't.
All right. 9.
Okay.
I'll burn a luck if I can.
To make a 10?
Yeah.
All right. Sweet.
I want a friend.
Yeah, okay. Let me see here. My kind come from the Far East. Can't you tell? I mean, she doesn't say "can't you tell," but you can tell by the color of her complexion that this particular group that she's from is the elves of the East. They are called. And what kind of information are you trying to get out of her?
I'm not trying to get any specific info. I'm just trying to get her to talk about herself.
Well, she's a little reluctant, but she.
Well, I'll offer. I'm from this town that's south of Penasculta, and I haven't really spent much time in a big city before, but I've never ventured to the east of.
But you've been to the capital, right? Because isn't that where you came from before you came?
South of Pen.
I thought you and Evaristo were from the capital of the. Is that not the case? If that's not your understanding, then.
Oh yeah, I thought we said we were from a town.
Okay.
But I don't remember if we decided it was the capital. Then.
Okay. Let's say it was a bigger town near the capital, which is east of your current location, but of course to the far east is the land of the Eastern Elves, or at least somewhere out there. Yeah, so she has this kind of, this whole time that you've been with her, which hasn't been that long, but she's had this kind of not really stern expression, but somewhat serious, and she clearly is. You could tell that she was totally assessing you guys before you decided to join forces. Like, she was definitely like a little suspicious, but then she kind of relented when Bros was encouraging, and when it seemed like you guys didn't pose a threat, she seems okay with it. Yeah, so she gradually warms up, and she. I'm trying to think if she. I mean, you got a 10. I think there must be something you say that makes her crack a smile, that you actually get like a little bit of a smile out of her. And she asks you about this this god you pay homage to. She's totally unfamiliar. Caracol's origins are in this region, and she's pretty far from home. So her encounter with you guys is the very first she's had any idea of this snail god. So, and she's kind of sussed out that that's what's going on. So she kind of asks you, what is it about your faith that's brought you to this place?
So I'll tell her about the swamps in the north that we're trying to get to, and this was a bit of a detour on our way there, and then I'll talk about Caracol and how the three of us on this journey actually have rather different interpretations of the Caracolian faith, but one of the major tenets is transformation, and so any journey is of interest to me, as all journeys can be transformational.
So she gives. That's the point at which she gives like a half kind of appreciative grin of this little bit of philosophy. So that's what you seek is change.
Yeah, change. And we believe that going through, or my sect believes that going through changes can bring about greater revelations.
What kind of revelations? Do you mean like spiritual, like transcendent type of things?
Occasionally, certainly, but also being more in touch with oneself and with the world around us.
I can understand that. My own people, I left my people because they were too rigid in their traditions. I can understand the value of change, and being in the world away from them has certainly broadened my notions of what's possible.
Well, I hope that if we are together for a few more days or however long, that you share with us some of the journeys that you have adventured on.
We will need to fill the times such as these. And she just, you know, she has a little silver, like a silver tumbler that she pulls out of her bag, and she offers to squirt some of her some of her stuff into the little glass, and offers, you know, she holds it up like this and like gives you a little, you know, would you like some?
I mean, I'm down for whatever, so.
So she squeezes the gourd, and this clear liquid comes out, and she passes it over to you.
So we'll give it a sniff, and
she says, to change.
all right.
And do you like toss it back or sip it?
I do like a little swirl, and then I do like a, well, I guess I wait, like I swirl and see how if she's tossing it back, I'm gonna like toss it back with her.
She like sucks on it like she's a, you know, she's a hiker with one of those, you know, just like.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'll just kind of do like a.
Okay. So this is, well, you don't know what it is, but it sort of burns on the way down. It's basically Elven Everclear.
Whoa.
So it totally burns on the way down. And you need to roll wisdom.
All right. Oof. Natural 3. Plus or minus nothing.
So. Oh, okay. So mark wisdom. And you're immediately like, whoa, and you've had your rituals in your time. Immediately, like you like have to sit down, and the whole passage kind of like tumbles around for a moment, and you get, when you look at your companions, you see Amu sitting and then standing, sort of superimposed for a second, and then you see Tio talking. Tio talking to Evaristo, and then a moment where superimposed on that is Tio eating the food that Evaristo gave him 5 minutes ago. So there's this weird disjointed kind of overlapping time thing going on, and you immediately have to go to sleep. You basically pass out. Do you have a bedroll?
No.
Okay, so you just pass out. Evaristo takes his backpack and kind of gently, you know, raises your head and rests it on the backpack, and it gives up his own blanket to put over you while you're sleeping there in the hallway, and then you just have some crazy dreams about being young, being a child, remembering being a child, and then also being older than you are now, and actually feeling being that way. So that's the kinds of dreams that you end up having. And in the meantime, you gain a bond with Ozana. It says choose 2 from the list below. Gain a bond with them. They gain a bond with you. Refresh all marked bonds. Okay, so you don't have any bonds yet. So she also gains a bond with you. So you guys each have a bond.
Wait.
Okay. Ozana, the rest of you guys see Ozana kind of chuckle a little bit, like not in a mean way, not in a mocking way at all. She just gives a little kind of like knowing nod and a smile, you know, maybe thinking like clearly, you know, non-elves can't really handle the good stuff. Okay, so you're settling into sleep. And you're gonna roll safety here. Claudio, will you roll 2d6? This is to see how the night goes.
Sure. This is an 8.
Okay. So someone of my choosing fails to get a restful sleep. I think it's not just one person. It's basically, I think Tio and Amu are the only people that get restful sleep because they can kind of handle this cold. So that means that.
Wait, wouldn't the Everclear help me out in that regard?
Well, you know how alcohol restful sleep. The toxin that you've got to. Oh yeah, no. In fact, the side effect of that roll for drinking that elf wine was that you suffer -1 ongoing to all rolls until the effects of the wine fade.
Okay.
But by the time you wake up, the effects will be gone, so you don't have to worry about that. So that means that Claudio and Evaristo and Saphira are not going to get a restful sleep just because it's so damn cold down here. And a good 7 hours passes with people. I guess one question would be like, would you guys have a fire for warmth or totally pitch black?
Oh, that's a good question. Would that counteract the lack of restful sleep?
I would say that if you had the fire that I'm thinking Claudio has a pretty decent constitution. Yeah, if you had a fire, Claudio would be okay, but Evaristo and Saphira would still be too cold.
Well, I brought some sticks along when I was collecting them up on the plateau.
Oh, that's right.
So we could have a little fire. I'm a little bit concerned about having something sneaking up on us, but what do you think, Claudio? Light something? Are you free?
I'd like the fire. We could also do like a turn, like turn.
Yeah.
In case we're worried about someone sneaking up on us.
You mean like keeping a watch?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of standard procedure for you guys. And in fact, I think I have your watch order written down somewhere.
Okay, so
like every time you guys rest, it's kind of a given that somebody will be keeping watch. The question is, will it be in the pitch dark, which could be kind of scary, or will it be? So the drawbacks are, if you have a fire, more things can see you and know where you are, but it also creates you can actually yourselves you can see. Except I guess Amu can see in the dark a little bit, right?
Yes.
But everybody else can't. So the advantage to a fire is that it actually is kind of illumination and warmth.
Well, I'd rather get attacked in the light.
Yeah. Can we? Yeah, let's light a little fire. and keep watch.
Okay. Great. So you get a couple little. Do you have like a tinder kit? How do you start the fire?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get a little fire going, and then as people take on watch, they feed the little the sticks into that. It's just a small little thing, but it's enough kind of embers to give off a little bit of heat and light the passageway pretty well. And in the middle of the night, I think, let's see, Amu, you're basically smack in the middle of the watch order, so it's hard to keep track of time, but it's very, very cold and quiet when you're watching, and the light from the fire illuminates those the carved lettering. If you remember, there's around the edge of the quarter, there's this carved inscription, and you could only make out the word the way in Nurgan. Which actually, where do I have it? Yes, which is Tavala. That means the way. And if you recall, the way is both a kind of path of spiritual progression. Legend has it that it's actually also a physical road somewhere in the Nurgan lands. Your people have spoken of it, but so the way is an actual real thoroughfare in dwarven legend, as well as a kind of metaphorical spiritual path. So that's the only word that you could decipher from this inscription. So in the light of the red light of the embers, you sort of contemplate that.
And when you say it's around the passageway, is it like an entranceway to this maze, or is it along the walls as we were walking down, or?
There seems to be, so on either side of the passage, there's a section of the stonework that sort of protrudes out maybe 4 inches, let's say, and then goes up and across the roof. So it's just like kind of appears to mark the threshold to the labyrinth, and the inscription is written kind of up one side, across the top, and then down the other side.
Seems like if we can make our way through the way, then we'll get where we want to go.
And then the last person is Tio. You're the last person on watch, so you sort of, when you kind of estimate it's time to wake up, you kind of get everybody going, and included with your single ration that you eat each day, that includes all the food you eat throughout the day. So maybe people have a little bite to eat or something. And then these torches have to get relit. And after everybody kind of like wakes up and splashes a little water on their face from their water skins, you're facing this series of tunnels that extends into the rock. And was anybody injured? Like Claudio, Amu, and Tio, were you guys down on any hit points or stats, ability points?
I was down a constitution.
Okay, so you heal that back up.
I think I was also down 1 constitution and intelligence.
And your constitution modifier is +2. So you would heal every night when you get a restful sleep. Claudio, you would heal 3 points of whatever.
Oh, okay.
So that would restore both your intelligence and constitution to full.
Sweet.
And Tia, were you okay?
Yeah, I had 2 off on my constitution.
And your con modifier is 0. So you just heal 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's basically you get 1 plus your con modifier and a minimum of 1. So because Claudio has a great constitution, that's why Claudio can heal up a lot faster. Okay, so you guys, yeah.
I have a note. Well, and this is if we're moving on, I have a note, and I don't remember where this came from, but I have +1 to find cave.
Yes, that's when you before you guys got to the Cave of Bright Crystal. I can't remember the move that it was, but it was the result of a move, and you got it was perceive. You made a perceive roll, and
That's right. Yeah.
and you could you had +1 to ask any question about
That's right. So that's not going to help.
You're in the cave, yeah.
I'm in, right? Yeah, got it. Okay.
You can go ahead and erase that. That's a little advantage that it's no longer useful. But I would like to know, as Tio is sort of standing here and kind of, what's your you got that hammer, right?
Yeah.
And could you describe to me briefly like what you're carrying?
I have my hammer, and then like I guess a backpack of some sort with tinderbox and bedroll.
And are you picturing that as like a both shoulder kind of backpack?
Yeah.
Okay. With the bedroll kind of tied on the top?
Sure, yeah.
And you're wearing Evaristo's pants?
And I have one of those Bastarat pelts tied around my head.
Oh, right. Around your head?
Yeah, like a hat.
Your mop of blue curls or whatever you got up there. And you have like your chainmail shirt that's kind of been
damaged
a little bit, yeah.
And I also have a thigh bone from something. I think a person's thigh bone. Oh, from whoever was dead in that weird plant where we found the staff.
Oh, you found a thigh bone buried in the dirt there. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So you have an old human thigh bone.
Yes.
Where is that just stowed away, or you have that?
Probably, yeah, like tucked into maybe sticking out of my backpack or something.
Okay, yeah, great. So, and the torchbearers are Amu and Ozana, right? So you guys got your torches lit up and you're holding them aloft. And I think at this point, everybody just needs to make sure you know what's in your left hand, what's in your right hand. I'm not going to ask each of you, but just make a note somehow to yourself. Everything's got to be logically carried. Anything you're not carrying in your hands can be tied onto a belt or stuck in your backpack. So just, have an idea of that stuff because it might become important.
You think I can carry a buckler and a torch at the same time?
Yeah, totally. A buckler allows you to have your hand actually free.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
That's one of the advantages of a buckler is you can actually carry something in your. At least I'm saying it is. I don't know if in medieval times that was the case, but okay. And now the default marching order underground is Evaristo and Saphira. Oh no, sorry. Amu would be up front, and then Claudio, Tio, Evaristo, and Saphira bringing up the rear. Ozana is going to offer to be the last person in line to watch the back. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
And Brother Brass wants to be up front, Amu. He wants to be like right behind you.
We have a challenge before us. This maze is intentionally designed, I believe, to dissuade those people who are not worthy. So
you are of dwarven heritage, no? Can you not read this inscription?
This, well, you see, my parents didn't really teach me everything. I'm really a farmer. But this part here, and I kind of go through and point to the different words. That could be, I don't know what that says, but this says Tavala, and I explain the road, the way, the path. When you go somewhere, but you're trying to find the thing that's not really there, and explain the whole metaphor of it. Not being a religious person. So maybe you have an idea, and I say to Saphira and Tio, you have something with a path, right? The way the snail follows the way and teaches you how to get somewhere, right? Can the snail find its way through a maze?
Of course. All you have to do is pick a direction and keep going that direction. So if we go left, we just keep going left. Left, 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 left. And eventually we'll get there.
I kind of look over at Saphira like, is he full of shit?
I wasn't asked, but it sounds like he wants us to go into a spiral.
I think that would work.
It's sad what happened to your people over the ages. To think that this place was cut from the mountain itself by your kin. It is truly boggling, and it is unfortunate that the secrets of your written tongue were not passed down properly from one generation to the next.
Yeah, yes, my parents were refugees escaping, so they didn't take a lot with them when they left, and I think they were happier to forget whatever happened here. Now my uncle, he told me some things, Uncle Otto, but I would be a little bit afraid if we stayed to the left the whole time that we would end up falling into every hole that the dwarves who built this mountain left for us.
Ozana says, yes, bearing in one direction all the time makes sense, unless the way is barred or ridden with traps.
I want to look around to see if, just kind of look at each of the hallways and see if there's any markings or any clues that might tell what one way is the correct and which way is the way to death.
I'm gonna kind of rib Tio and be like, "Hey, I've been asking old Circle up there for a lot of stuff, but we could ask for which way is the right way, but maybe you could do it since I kind of feel like I'm asking for a lot lately." We could do it together.
Oh, sorry. You guys think about that, and Anu, we roll perceive with wisdom.
I got a 7 minus 1, and so that would make me fail. Can I burn a luck? What?
Sorry,
I can't hear you.
You can.
There you go. Okay, so I'll make it a 7, and then my luck goes down to 6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can ask one question about the object of your attention, which is either now or later. You can ask it now if you want, but ask carefully. If there's no way you could reasonably perceive the answer, the judge will just say that you don't notice anything unusual. So, for instance, which way lies death may not be a question that you can answer given,
Yeah, I think I would ask if there are any clues or markings or artifacts, even if it's just like footsteps or something, that would show the safest path.
The safest path.
Well, let me say the path that
like the most well-trodden?
The path that will get you to the place that I'm assuming everybody wants to go. With the assumption that the maze is there's lots of wrong ways and one right way. I'm trying to find the right way. Yeah, maybe that's not the best.
So the question is the question which is the most well-traveled path, or like which way is the right way?
Yeah, let's say the most well-traveled path, and whether there's a if there's any hidden marks like words or symbols or footsteps that would let me know that that's the most well-traveled path.
So two different questions there. Any hidden marks?
Yeah.
Or which way seems the most well-traveled?
Okay, that is true. Those are two different things. I'm gonna look for hidden marks and symbols.
Okay. You perceive nothing. Nothing unusual.
Okay.
On top of that, like just as far as your second question pertains, because you are surveying all the passages, maybe not enough people came this way to disturb anything beyond. I mean, it's all rock. It would take thousands of people to, to wear the rock down over many years. So you don't. It's all, and I would say the whole place is covered in like half an inch of gray sort of rock dust. Some of the veins of rock that are showing through are volcanic, and they're pretty porous, and a lot of that has kind of filtered down over the years. So there's definitely no, and you could say this without even a perceive roll, there's definitely no like footprints. So nobody has been here recently, and perhaps for many, many years.
So the one possibility is that this really is just a meditation maze, and that we really should go back to the other room that has the tunnel leading down into the next chamber.
Do you guys have anything to add, or Saphira and Tio? Do you guys want to ask?
This pray ability, like, it only helps you accomplish something you're trying to do, right?
Pray helps you restore.
That restores favor.
Or what am I?
So what we would want to do is invoke.
I always, yeah.
So when you invoke, you just get to say what you want to have happen, like you're asking your god for a favor.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out. You just have to describe or explain how it relates to your god's domains, or one or more of their domains. And you can ask for anything, but the crazier request, the harder,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm out of favor, for the record.
Gotcha. So we're looking at 8. We're in like a little room that has 8 paths leading off.
The passage kind of, so it's 15 feet wide, and then at a certain point, 2 smaller passages go off to either side, and then the main passage gets narrower by a foot or 2, and then it proceeds, and then 2 more go off, and then it gets narrower until at the very end, it divides into 2. So all told, there are 8 different smaller passages that go off. Yeah.
And if we hold up a torch and look down those,
When you sort of move forward and hold the torch and kind of peer down, and 15 or 20 feet, the extent of the torchlight, you can in 1 or 2 of them you see a bend, but they otherwise are, some of them turn after a short distance, some appear to proceed straight.
okay.
So we're not going to map it out, because we're not approaching this dungeon that way. So it's more of like, as far as how to proceed, it's like a general strategy or precautions, or because mapping it out would take an enormous amount of time and it'd be really tedious, we're sort of going to tackle this in a more general sense. And like your proposal of let's always stick to the left, that would be an example of how you could go forward, or you could try to figure out which way to go, another method. And then I'll just tell you mechanically what's going to happen is when you venture into this thing, there's basically 3 levels of progression, 3 kind of, let's call them levels of progress. And you're after a certain point, you'll get to the first stage and then proceed from there. Just a question of how you want to approach the problem before you.
All right. I guess I will invoke if everyone's seeming stumped.
Okay.
I'm looking around and people are not sure what to do.
So it says, when you call upon your deity to manifest their power, say what you want to happen.
Okay. I want a sign of some sort of which of these 8 paths is the way. Like I don't totally understand what the way is, but so some help figuring that out is what I would like.
And how does that fall within at least one of your deity's domains?
Who? Change and transformation. I mean, could I, like, as I'm talking to Caracol, could I say, like, we're stuck on our path, and so our path is no longer changing or transforming, so we need your help to continue that. Is that a way of?
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. I'll buy that justification. Yeah, so you're asking, I'd say you're deep underground. You're far from wetland. I think that's hubris 2.
Okay.
So it's going to be -2 to your roll, and then you can counteract that by spending favor.
Okay, so 2d6, and then
do you spend favor?
do I do it before? After?
You might spend favor before you roll. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just saw my roll, so I'm gonna take that back. And should I take that back, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Start from scratch. So you spend
I will spend 1 favor.
Okay.
Oh, and I got an 11.
You got a natural 11, so
Natural 11. So
minus 1 is a 10.
9, 10. Yeah.
Great. Ooh, what the hell? Your request is granted with duration 3. So how does, for you, Tio, how does Caracol's guidance manifest in a way that maybe the other Caracolians can perceive, but the non-Caracolians can't see? So it's something that just you are able to see or discern that's telling you which way to go. What is it that you see? Could be like a hallucination or a vision or some hidden pattern. I'm not sure, but what does it look like?
I think maybe as my my bare feet are walking like through this place, it would be like a hot cold kind of thing, like it's saying like you're getting warmer, or you're getting colder. So like it would be that kind of I could like feel it in the ground.
But so it's not literally heat or cold. It's some kind of sense through the earth that you're feeling this.
Yeah.
Like it feels right. Like the way
Yes.
it feels right. So whenever you get to like a, is it like a one step at a time thing, or each footstep you kind of know where to step, or when you get to an intersection, do you like have to walk one way and then back up and walk the other way to feel it? Do you feel like you're being led, or that you're searching?
Searching.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's with your feet.
Yes. Or I mean, it could be like go walk around on your hands and knees, I guess, but feeling it, through the earth.
Do you try to explain this to your companions, or do you just kind of proceed ahead?
I'm gonna tell them that I have had a vision, and I know exactly where to go, and I'm just gonna lead the way.
And wait, but I can perceive this somehow, or
I'm gonna like close my eyes and like make a whole thing of like do some chanting and feel the walls and sit down on the ground and draw some spirals. And
is this periodically as you're proceeding?
Yes.
So people just stop every once in a while. Is everybody, Amu, are you okay with this? Are you willing to let this kind of touched halfling lead the way?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. As long as we're going forwards, I'll just shine the light and look for trouble. Okay.
And Saphira, to answer your question, you can't see. What you see is you recognize that Tio is in touch. You recognize that Tio is communing with Caracol somehow. You don't see or feel any of the things that he's feeling, but you get what he's up to.
So I'm like explaining to Ozana. I'm like, so you see the circle, and when he does this, and that chant meant this, and as much as I can interpret it.
Got it. Well, as long as he is in the front, and if any ill should befall us, it will befall him. I suppose we can proceed this way. And Brother Braz is totally fascinated with what's going on. And so it's Tio and then Amu holding the torch to light the way. And Tio's doing exactly what's described, moving forward slowly and then maybe a little faster and then sitting down occasionally, touching the walls. Holy cats. You got the best possible result there. Okay. After at least an hour or more of finding your way through these passages, and at a certain point, I think everyone who's got the highest intelligence here, Claudio. So Claudio, at a certain point, you think, and you're the only one who thinks that if you tried to find your way back, you could, because at a certain point, you guys have taken a number of different turns, you've passed a number of different intersections. And then you get to 8-way intersection where it's 8. You come out and you look around, and there's 8 different ways. And Claudio, you sort of hang back with your hand on the wall just to reassure yourself that that's the way you guys came from. And you're sort of deep into the maze at this point. So everybody,
I don't know if this is like I would think, as if we're exploring a dark dungeon, we would probably leave signs along the way. If this is that maze-like,
okay.
we?
What kind of how would you mark the way, or how would you suggest the way get marked?
You said there was the dust on the ground.
Yeah.
Maybe as we go, I'd be drawing spirals the whole way.
Okay.
In the dust on the ground.
And the dust is thick enough where since you appear to be the only living things down here, just by your footprints, you'd be able to.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Unless, the walls shift or there's some other inexplicable thing. So we'll say there's enough markings in the dust, but it's still, these passageways are 4 feet wide. There's this growing sense of claustrophobia.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of anxiety that you're sort of deep into this confusing place. But yeah, worst comes to worst, all the little marks you've been making at each intersection plus your footprints, you'll be able to find your way back. So at this juncture of 8 passages, Ozana and Amu have to mark a duration on their torches. And Tio, your blessing had a duration of 3, so you mark off one of those. Huh.
Just a clarification, I have 3 torches in my pouch. Once this torch is gone, do I still have 2 more torches?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, when the last duration, the pitch is just burned out, and it's just a stick of wood at that point. But those 2 other torches each have duration 3.
Okay.
And the ceilings are 8 feet high, so like the smoke that's coming off these things is high enough up in a way that it's not like interfering with your guys' progress at all. Okay, so at this next passage, of course, Tio goes through a whole series of motions and gestures and drawing, and he's still kind of in this semi-trance-like state, and chooses the next way to go. And then Claudio, will you roll a d12, please?
Yes. 7.
Okay. Tio reaches the base. He reaches a point where the passage that you guys are in slopes upward at a very steep angle, basically like that. And when Amu holds the torch up, and wherever that angle stops is out of sight. So this passage goes up, and Tio is convinced that this is the way you guys have to go. But it's at such a steep angle that you're going to have to figure out some way to get up there, or look for another way around.
Three of us can climb mighty good.
Right. Yeah, and I said that there'd have to be handholds. You couldn't climb a sheer surface, but this isn't quite sheer. This is a pretty steep angle, but that is okay. Yeah. So I guess Tio's one of those people, right?
Yeah.
So he could just. Tio, do you just proceed up?
I think I would look back at everybody who's following me. And I'd ask, who's carrying the rope? I know we had a rope.
I have some rope. It's not quite as long as it was. It's let's see. We have 35 feet of rope left.
Okay. I would ask for the rope and then tie it around my waist and start climbing up.
Okay.
and look for a spot to like help.
Yeah.
And if we have to like go 35 feet, tie it off somehow, and then go another 35 feet and like keep
Okay.
going like that.
Yep.
If we have to.
So after you tie the rope off, I think the way you climb is it's 4 feet wide, this passage, so you're able to plant one hand, and then 1 foot and 1 foot, and kind of like crab walk up on the walls, and kind of slowly, because that's the way this particular blessing has its effect on you.
Am I big enough to do that?
Well, 4 feet, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think the full extent of your arms. I think that's it. Maybe it's just fingertips and toes.
Halfling size, though? Is it? Yeah.
Then you're going full body with hands on one side, and feet on the other.
Okay.
Fair point. So Tio disappears up out of firelight into the darkness, breathing heavily. Tio, roll luck.
Okay. A 5.
Okay. The end of the rope gets pulled up, so you've gone up past the point where, so the rope is like dragged 5 feet up the slope, so it's still within hand's reach of the people below, but you're still not near the top, and you don't know where the top is because it's pitch dark where you are.
Okay. And there's no place to tie it off or anything?
No.
I'm gonna keep going, and while I go, I'm gonna just scream down, "It's horrible! It's so horrible! Why?" And
Are you trying to convince your?
I'm just messing around. Yeah.
I think that I probably would react to such a shout. So I shout, "Hold on!" and I drop my spear and hand my torch to Saphira and start scampering up after Tio. "I'm coming!" Doing the same kind of ridiculous crab walk.
Okay, so you're trying to do that. I think for you to do it, because you did not participate in that ritual, right? So you don't have the blessing of Caracol on you. I think you're gonna roll strength.
I got 8 + 1, 9.
Okay. Yeah, so you I think the torchlight actually illuminates enough of the slope where the end of the rope is still visible in the torchlight. So he's some distance beyond the radius of the light. And you manage to get up to that rope, to the point where the rope is. And that's when you basically your strength kind of is at its limit. You can't go any further than that.
And I shout up, "What's wrong? I can't go any farther. What happened?"
As casually as I can sound, it's just dark up here. And it keeps going.
I give in and I just slide back down.
And so Tio, I take it you keep going.
I'll keep going. Yeah.
Maybe a good 50 feet you've traversed, and you put your hand up and you find flat surface, and then haul yourself up into still this bitterly cold blackness. And you look back down this long sloping passage. There's the glow of the firelight down there. So you're about 50 feet away from your traveling companions.
Do I see anywhere that I could tie the rope off?
You can't see anything.
Oh, right.
And feeling around, you gradually, so you feel around, you're up there on all fours, kind of carefully feeling the floor around you, moving your hand through this dust, and it's super dry, and you feel around the area, and you realize after a few minutes of kind of muddling about in the dark that you're in another one of these places where 8 passages come together.
Jeez. Okay.
And you can mark the second duration on your invocation.
Okay. I'll just I haven't been able to feel any place that I could tie this rope off.
Nope, there's no like.
Okay, yeah. And it based on Amu climbing, it doesn't seem like this is like that everybody's going to be able to get up here.
Amu's on the strong side. Claudio might stand a chance being taller, and but still 50 feet going, it's a challenge. There's a chance that Claudio could, from where you are now, that Claudio could get to where the rope is hanging.
Well, Claudio has the blessing.
Oh, yeah,
it
right.
Was me, Tio, and Claudio.
Okay, so the 3 of you could get up there. So then Amu, Evaristo, Brass, and Ozana are the ones who. Does anybody who has adventuring gear?
No one.
No one.
It was too expensive.
Yeah.
But I could carry the little ones on my back, maybe.
Oh. So the dwarf to Amu and Brass on your back.
Maybe. Do you think I have the strength to do it a climb twice or 3?
Well, I mean, you've got the blessing of Caracol, so I think with those guys on your back, you'd have to make a roll, but you could just climb up with them on your back because they'd just be hanging on, and you just gotta bear the burden,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna shout down like, "This is the way." I'm not kidding this time. It's only 50 feet up. Start climbing.
So then that would leave if Claudio. So Saphira and Saphira, do you want to just go, or are you gonna wait to see how this shakes out?
I mean, I can wait if people need help. I'm not a total weakling.
Okay. Claudia, do you want to try to carry the smaller folk?
Well, I'll offer my services to Amu.
I'd rather pull myself up. Let me
Yeah, I was thinking you'd say that.
Let me just get a hold of that rope. Hey, Tio, you got a hold of that rope? If I get up there, will you pull me?
Yeah, I got you. No problem.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start hustling up the hill. Well, oh shit, I got a spear and a torch.
Isn't the rope only 35 feet, or is that?
Yeah,
No.
but
Yeah, 15 of it was frayed, and I'm just going to say that I lopped it off because I didn't want to carry.
How are we going to get a torch up there anyway?
well, I
don't
mean,
think you can
if Brass rides on Claudio, then Brass can carry a torch.
All right, I hand my torch to Brass, and I start trying to climb back up till I can reach the rope, climb up that 15 feet.
Okay. Yeah, so you're going to have to roll again for that. And I think you could probably just strap your spear on your back, or somebody else can carry it up with, you know.
Okay. Here we go again. I got a 9.
Okay, so you make it to the rope, and this time you have to burn a point of strength.
Okay.
So by the time you make it up to where Tio is, you're like pretty much, you know, you're wiped out. For the immediate, you know, your muscles are strained and you're feeling a little. You haven't really worked those muscle groups in maybe ever, those particular ones.
All right.
Ozana kind of assesses the this whole time she's been kind of quietly observing the whole situation, and then she sort of gestures for everybody to get out of the way, and she backs up down the hallway, and she makes a run. You know, she's you know, her knives are away. She's got her backpack on, but she makes a run and tries to run up the slope to see if she can get as far as the rope. But I like to have everybody else roll. So Claudio, will you roll for Ozana? So 2d.
What should I?
2d6.
Oh, 5.
Okay. So she gets just right close to the rope and then slips, grabs the rope, hits the surface of the passage, and a big squirt of elf wine shoots out of the gourd. She hits it, just like whatever cap she had on it, like pops off, and you know, because her body pushes against it, and then she has the rope, and then she stands up and pulls herself up all the way to the top. Evaristo's looking around, like wondering how he's gonna make it up there.
Yeah, how about that? Well, maybe Claudio and I can try to help him up together.
Oh, since you both can climb.
Yeah, like we can kind of.
Yeah, sure.
In between us.
Yep. No, that totally makes sense. I think and then Brass could go up once on Claudio's back, and then Claudio could come down, and you guys could both pull Evaristo up. Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. And I think, Claudio, if it's just Brass you're going to carry up, it's not going to be a roll, because it's just like slow and steady, and he's a halfling, and it's not that, you know, onerous. And that's everybody accounted for, I think, right? Yeah, so thanks to the blessings of Caracol, all you guys make it up this steep slide, and the torch illuminates another one of these 8-way intersections. The one that you just climbed up, opposite it is another one that slopes down at the same angle, and then to the right and the left are 2 more down-sloping ones. And then the other 4 passages are level, going off in those directions. And Tio indicates that it's one of the level passages that you should proceed down.
Follow me.
And at this point, everybody has to mark another duration of torches. So Azana's torch goes out and she lights a new one. Okay.
I'm wondering if we should conserve torches. I'm wondering, I've got 2 more. How many do you have, Azana?
This is after this one. She has 1 more.
Yeah, so maybe I'll let Ozana carry the only torch.
Okay. And have her be up near the front instead of in the rear.
I suppose.
I also have 3 torches.
Oh, no, you gave them to me, didn't
Oh,
you?
did I? Is that what I gave? Oh, okay.
Or did-
No, I gave them to you.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
Then we have
I
plenty of
had
torches.
too much
Okay.
weight.
Great.
I say we use our torches as much as possible so that later when we want to ask them for food, they're like, yeah, you contributed.
Well, I'll have a torch on too then.
Do we need 2 torches?
No.
Well,
Oh yes. Well, you do have a lot. That's right. And now I'm suggesting that maybe burning 2 is good in terms of awareness of resource expenditure.
it's just the thing of if one of us gets taken out and then we're all in darkness, what to do.
Yeah.
It's an illumination insurance policy.
Yeah. So I'll have a torch too.
A few people take swigs from their water skins at this point before you guys set off down this passage, and you keep 2 torches burning. And Tio leads the way. Tio, roll a d12.
It's a 4.
Okay. After several more turns, 3-way intersection where you bear right, you get to a point where it looks like, so these 8-foot-high passages, it looks like the ceiling has completely caved in. So a number of broken chunks of the mountain fill the passageway. And from where you're standing, well, you know that you feel it in your feet that where you want to go is on the other side of all of this rubble. And it's just like a big jumbled mass of pretty, there's some big hunks of rock here at odd angles. It's not like filling the passage like gravel. It's big, huge chunks of rock that have fallen in at some point. All covered in dust.
So not movable.
The bigger ones are definitely not movable. Maybe with some engineering and some time, you could not engineering. I mean some careful consideration, because moving the wrong rock could cause trouble. It might be possible to excavate, but some of these things are definitely immovable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm a little perplexed why I have been led to a dead end. Is there any air coming through, or any is it like it's just caved in, or would maybe we be able to like squeeze through to the other side or something?
Roll to perceive.
Okay.
That's wisdom.
10.
Okay.
9 + 1.
Okay, so you can ask 2 questions about this rockfall.
if we were to move some of the smaller rocks, would the whole tunnel cave in?
That would depend on who oversaw the moving. It would require somebody to carefully assess the repercussions. So it's possible, but
Okay.
it would not be. It's not a guarantee. It would depend on who's kind of making the calls there.
Mm-hmm. And is there? Can I like see or sense that the path opens up again, or is it like completely caved in?
Yeah, so like you're still kind of tuned in, obviously, and you're feeling the walls and touching some of the bigger rocks. And when one's stable enough, you kind of half climb up on one and look, to try to see your way through. And you definitely get the sense of maybe it's a very, very faint kind of movement in the air, but you get the sense of space on the other side of this mass of rocks.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. So I am going to call up Evaristo and Saphira to like where I am standing on the rock and say, we got to be careful, but maybe we can move some of the rocks so we can get through. And sort of point at the smaller rocks, and show them like that we need to be careful.
Are you gonna guide us through this?
I was hoping to get your help.
Are you proposing some kind of ritual prayer or?
No, just like I want to be smart about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want some input from your compatriots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to be rolling.
Like I don't want to just reach up and grab one of these rocks and then have the whole place come down on us.
Is your invocation over?
I feel like after this, it probably is.
It has one duration left on it.
Yeah.
So is it possible that you can like touch the rocks and feel whether it's right to move them or not?
I would say that would be a valid expenditure of the duration. Yes. And then it would be over. So in terms of the next juncture you guys get to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would be one thing you could do, or you could try to solve the rock engineering problem using, brain power.
I mean, I think that wizard is smarter than me when it comes to engineering, maybe.
Mm.
Wait, wizard? What wizard?
Or sorry, what's his face? Brother, whatever.
Oh, Brother Brown.
He's not a wizard?
No, he's a monk. He's a
monk. Oh. Puff.
What seems to be the holdup? On cue.
Well, yeah. Well, have him come take a look too.
Yes.
The path continues this way, but I'm worried that if we move the wrong rock, this whole place is going to cave in on us.
I see. Well, I'm no expert. What about our dwarf friend? Stones and subterranean places seems to be an area of expertise.
Yeah, let's scamper up to the top of the mound. That's where you guys are, is up there at the top looking at stuff?
They're kind of like they're over the first kind of pile looking at the main mass.
Yeah.
Blocking that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of look at it carefully and I'm like, well, sure. I could do this.
So the real question is who's gonna well the thing that's being assessed is which rocks to move, which is an intelligence roll. So Amu's making the assessment.
Yeah. I'm not terribly smart, but I am a dwarf, so
I think everybody else is kind of offering input, and there's a little discussion perhaps of which rocks would be best to move, and then I think Amu's going to make the call, unless anybody objects to that. And then after the call is made, who's going to move the rocks?
I'll move the rocks.
Okay, so you're going to make the call and move the rocks.
Yeah.
Claudio, are you gonna just watch this all happening, or is Claudio there?
I can see it.
I see.
Yeah, sorry. Well, if the rock is small enough for you to move, that's okay with me.
Are you gonna so what's happening is Amu's gonna decide which rocks to move and then start moving them. Would you like to help, or do you want to just keep a safe distance in case something goes wrong?
I can help.
Here,
Okay.
take this rock. I say when I figure out what rock to take.
You just point to it.
I'll like pick it up and hand it to you. Do
Okay.
like a little
Oh,
fire.
okay. Okay, so you're moving it off the pile.
Yeah, I'm like going up there, grabbing the rock that seems like the one, and then I'm see that one over there's, and then if we can just move this, and I'll hand it down to you.
Okay. So Azana's holding a torch aloft, and I assume everybody else is at a safe distance in case the whole place caves in. So Claudio and Amu are the only people kind of at immediate risk. Amu, make an intelligence roll +1 because of all of the counsel you got from these other folks.
Is this a place where Amu could like spout lore about building rock fences or something?
I think that whatever advantage would be granted by that, we've already given Amu for being
Okay.
Can I use my bond with Teo to increase my my assistance that I'm getting with finding the way? Because Teo was searching through and finding the proper hole.
If Teo has a bond with you, Teo can burn that bond.
I have written down that Amu needs to make amends.
Yeah. Well, I can help Teo, but not the other way around. Okay, never mind. All right. Here I go.
And you get your basic intelligence is no modifier, so you get +1 to this roll.
Yeah. So I got a 7 + 1.
Okay. Okay. So, here, Claudio. Claudio takes it and moves it down. There's a point where you're kind of like scratching your chin, trying to figure out which of these two to move, and you kind of like push one, and it seems pretty tightly lodged in there, and you push the other one, and it seems to give a little bit. So you need some kind of lever to get it out of there. What do you use to do that with?
Thigh bone.
Thigh bone.
Do you?
Thigh bone.
Yeah, you toss up the thigh
Yeah,
bone?
sure, for sure, yeah.
Okay. So you're cranking on it. Snap! The thigh bone breaks, but the rock shifts, and then a big chunk topples right towards you, Amu. What do you do? I mean, we're talking a chunk of rock that is at least the size of you.
Okay.
Big thing just goes and it's falling right towards you.
I tried to. How wide is this passage?
The full extent of this passage is only it's only 4 feet wide. It's one of these narrow little passages. So single file.
Yeah. Could I try to scamper to the side and let the rock go past me, or is it just filling the hole? Yeah.
No, you could totally like just. So I guess the question is, there's a couple things you could do. I suppose you could, quickly throw yourself up against the side and hope that it rolls past you without hurting you. You could like curl up into a ball and pray that whatever its geometric configuration is, will just roll across you. You could perhaps try to. Yeah, I mean, so it sounds like you're throwing yourself out of harm's way.
Yeah, well, I was wondering if I could try to ride it and like as it starts to roll forwards, just kind of climb on top of it. Like as it's coming down, just like try to like grab a hold and like run over it.
Over the top. Oh, wow. Okay. A dwarf tackling the rock head on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, we're just imagining this rock, so I don't really know if that's at all possible.
Totally possible. I mean,
Totally possible.
kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
it's within the realm of, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna shout, "Look out!" and just start trying to get on top of it.
Okay. Roll dexterity. Make a saving throw.
I rolled an 11 plus 1.
Okay, so you yell, "Look out!" and Claudio lunges to one side, and you, this thing is toppling. You stand up, and you do exactly what you described. You jump back, plant one foot on the face of it, and push off to get over it, and you land on the far side of it, and it goes, and when it stops, it's right where Claudio had been standing, and Claudio's like up against the wall. And then you look back down at your friends. Azana's holding the torch up with a look of disbelief on her face. Everybody seems to be okay, and you turn and look where that big rock was, and there's now an opening into blackness on the far side.
Okay, here we go.
I'll take my broken thigh bone back, please.
You take the broken pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Memento. Okay, everybody you have to kind of like crawl through that space that's been open and pick your way through the rubble on the other side. And another couple of turns led by Tio, and you get to another 8-way intersection. And Tio, to proceed forward, you would need to mark your last duration on your blessing.
They're all gone.
Okay. You take 2 steps that have that sureness. You sort of test out the different passages, do your usual kind of ritual signs and stuff, settle on the one you're going to do, and you take 2 steps into it, and you feel Caracol's presence evaporate. And your sense is that you are passing into the realm of another deity. And it's not that Caracol's not welcome here, but this is not Caracol's place. So you proceed down this passage, and everybody marks a duration on their torches. And you're just at the edge of the torchlight there in the front of the pack. And there's no other, this path that you've chosen, there's no side passages, just proceeds straight. And at first you feel like your eyes might be playing tricks on you, but then you perceive a very soft glow up ahead. The light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And you emerge from this passage into a kind of, it opens up into a 30-foot wide space, like a room that's 30 feet wide, and there's as you're the torchlight, I guess Amu is the next person in line with the torch, enters the room, and Amu, you hold the torch aloft and look around, and the walls here are covered with carvings of different layers of it appears to be pictograms showing the excavation and creation of this place that you're in. So it's little dwarf figures with chisels and hammers, and you see a stark outline of the mountainside, and this like cutaway like Father Christmas workshop view of the mountain and all the different levels being cut by the dwarves, showing its excavation. And on one wall, on the left-hand wall above the mountain, is carved what looks like a comet in the sky above the mountain. And on the opposite side of this chamber that you're in, there's a large opening, larger than the other openings that you've passed through. So this one's probably 10 feet wide by 12 feet high. And through that emanates this kind of shifting prismatic glow. So it's like pale blue and pale pink and white glow emanating from this doorway ahead. Biosabio, could this be it? Says Frost.
The chamber we're in is it, besides the carvings on the wall, or is there any features? Is it just is it round or?
It's rectangular.
Rectangular.
But you're coming in on the long wall of the rectangle.
Okay.
Like if you look at my hands, the space between my hands is basically the doorways. So you've entered a doorway, and there's a doorway opposite, and the walls are covered in these carvings showing different, apparently different parts of the history of this place.
And I'm kind of overwhelmed by the finding the things that my uncle always told me about, and I'm looking around by the doorway just to see if there's any ominous triangles on the wall that should be pressed, or
roll to perceive.
do I get a plus for being underground still?
Yes, you get +1, yeah.
So I got an 8.
So you can have
1 and -1, so just back to an 8.
Yeah, so you have one question.
Oh. Yeah, I'm looking for any kind of a trap or death from above, or
you perceive nothing that nothing out of the ordinary. There don't seem to be any holes or cracks or marks or inset tiles or anything like that you can see.
Do the drawings, it shows the history, does it seem to have any kind of a map? Does it show like where we've been, the different rooms and stuff? Is it that detailed, or is it more just
you do? It's not like it could not be a map, but in generally speaking, there is. For instance, you can identify the cave where there was the statue of the Mother of Waters. Do you remember that? There was a little waterfall cave you guys found, where there was a small statue, like a shrine. So you see in that particular part of the carving, there's the little shrine, and there's a cluster of 3 dwarven priests or devotees of some kind gathered around, and each one of them on the is wearing a mantle, like a shoulder covering thing, simply carved in the stone with a circle on it, which is the symbol of that goddess. So you recognize that as a place you've been. And then you recognize there is on the wall opposite you, there is a complicated octagonal pattern that you take to be the maze that you navigated. But there's not, it's like a more general representation of areas. You would not be able to use this to get through a specific place.
Yeah. So I walk out into the room and shine the light around to see if there's anything else to be seen. And if not, then I proceed over to the room with the prismatic glowing and look through the door.
People Your people made all of this, Amu. Amazing. So you stand in the doorway, and the rest of the group kind of gathers near you and looks over your shoulder as you're holding the torch up. And you're looking into a room, perhaps 10 times the size of the one that you were just in. That's a pretty big space. The ceiling is supported by 4 massive stone pillars, equally spaced. And the whole place is glowing in this very soft, shifting light, which emanates from countless crystals. They're mounted all along the walls. There's 8 stone statues of dwarven attendants spaced around the room, and each one of them is holding aloft a kind of stone sconce, and in each of these sconces is a crystal the size of your head. And then all along the walls, set into the walls at regular intervals, are smaller crystals, perhaps the size of your fist. In the center of the room is a stone, an octagonal stone font, like it sticks straight up out of the ground, and you can tell from your light that there's a if your light from your torch is reflecting off of the surface of this font, that shows you that there's like a bowl-shaped depression it's full of water. And in fact, the water is kind of just trickling down the sides of it. So it's a very slow kind of flowing out of this font in the middle of the room. And in the dim light, this room is big enough where you can't quite, and light's not super bright. It's actually quite dim. It just seemed bright relative to the darkness you guys had been in. The crystals are not glowing brightly. They're quite dim. But on a far opposite side, there's a large shape on the opposite wall that you can't make out from this distance because the light's not bright enough.
I'm sorry, what can't we make out?
On the opposite wall, there's some kind of large shape that's from this distance in the faint light. It's you can't really make it out. It's not moving. Okay. It appears to be part of the wall.
And you said there was 4 statues, is that right?
There's 8 statues. There's 4 pillars supporting the...
Oh, 8 statues.
Yeah.
And are the statues in the room, or are they set in the walls?
They're freestanding in the room.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. They're set against the walls, but they're not part of the wall. So spaced evenly. There's like 4 on the right and 4 on the left, spaced around the walls. Yeah, they're not freestanding. The pillars are the only freestanding thing, and the font.
Man.
And there's this very, kind of an unnatural hush, and you almost perceive, like, very dimly, it's almost like when you were a kid, in that community that you lived in, you had a neighbor who had wind chimes. And when the wind was blowing right on a certain, at a certain time of day in the evening, when the wind was blowing the right direction, you could faintly hear your neighbor's wind chimes. You have this sudden kind of sense memory of that. This is it. We've done it. Unbelievable.
I'm gonna tug on Amu's shirt, and knowing that I'm Karakal is left and I'm in another god's space, I'm just gonna ask, are you sure we should be taking these crystals?
Oh, well, I'd always heard of the dwarven wealth that our people had, and I guess I imagined the Cave of Crystal was more of a mine. There's probably a pile of them somewhere around here. Uh, mm, this does seem like some sort of a shrine more than a
We checked out
cave.
the big obscure shape on the far wall.
Yeah, let's walk towards it.
So you gradually make your way down the passage, and Azana's like looking around. She's lost that stern expression, and she has, as close to awe on her face as you might imagine possible. Brass is also sort of not dumbstruck, but like just taking it all in and kind of looking around excitedly. And you guys, as a group, kind of make your way down, and these watched over by these silent sort of stone torchbearers. And on the far side of the room, it comes into view that your torchlight illuminates it. There's a floor-to-ceiling bas-relief of what you can only imagine what Amu knows to be Kivi Aiti, the mother of stone, carved to appear as if she's stepping out of the rock itself. And she's holding her right hand forward like this. So most of her body, like to the midpoint, the midline of her body on the side is like in the rock. So most of her is in bas-relief, except that her arm extends out of the face, and she's holding her hand out like this. And in the palm of her hand, which is low enough for you to see, is a diamond-shaped depression, which perhaps held something at some point. Amu, what do you feel as you approach this carving of this ancient goddess?
I feel like I'm come to my birthright, but I don't know what to do. Part of me wants, part of me wishes that I was the one who took that diamond that's not in her hand anymore.
Should we pop one of these diamonds in her hand? See what happens?
One of the ones from the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said that there were countless crystals? There's more than...
So are you actually counting as you move through the...
Well, I'm just trying to get at, because you said there's like ones that are in the statues and then ones that are in the... Are there other...
Yeah, so there's big ones. The bigger ones are the statues are holding them aloft as if they were torches. Those are the biggest ones in those. And then all the other ones are mounted roughly at kind of midway up the walls in kind of a line all the way around the room. And then each of the columns has, 4 mounted on it. On each face, they're square columns, so each face of the column has one. So all told, countless was your first impression because you'd never even seen one bright crystal.
Yeah.
There are 32 of the smaller ones.
And the only one that seems to be absent, perhaps, is the one in the hand of the statue.
Yeah.
What's going on with the water in the middle?
You're investigating that?
Yeah.
So it's an octagonal stone font, simply cut with kind of classic Nurgan diagonal line designs that kind of rise up from the base and intersect in kind of a dense pattern near the rim. And the bowl itself is geometric. It's not like a curved bowl, right? It's like if you took half of a 20-sided die and kind of sunk it in concrete. It's got that kind of geometric shape to it. It's full to the brim with clear water that is quietly kind of overflowing and down the sides, and then there's a seam at the base of it where the water just flows into the floor.
So is there a spot where we can see the water like coming up, or?
Yes, there's a in the, you sort of peer in, and Ozana offers her torch, and you peer in, and at the bottom there's an octagonal hole that the water appears to issue from. Yeah.
What's it smell like?
Nothing.
What's it taste like?
You're gonna dip a finger in it?
Yeah. You hesitating this long is making me scared.
I just have to look at my notes here. It tastes like pure spring water.
Okay, cool.
I mean, by taste, I assume you just dip your finger.
Yeah, just like yeah.
So Azana looks at you quizzically. Water? Fresh water?
I imagine it's more like what you have in your tube there.
She bends over and sniffs it.
Her tube is full of booze, my friend.
Exactly.
I think he's playing with her.
Yeah.
She takes out her water skin, which is empty, and then kind of looks at the font for a second, and then looks over at Amu and looks up at the walls, and is clearly thinking about refilling it, but then kind of thinks the better of it. What purpose could this serve? Says Brass, looking at the font. Some sort of holy spring? The priests must have come here and washed themselves? Mama, do you know nothing of this faith?
Was he asking me?
Yeah.
It is always good to offer water. My mother taught me, and she. I go over and I take a handful of water and I carry it over. Is the statue, how big is it? Is it human-sized or bigger?
It's floor to ceiling, so the statue is about 20 feet tall.
Oh.
And holding its hand down near the ground.
Okay.
It's basically,
well, I go and
it's on one knee. The statue's on one knee with one leg kind of partly extended and holding the hand down near the ground.
I go and I take a scoop of water with my hands and I carry it over to the statue and pour some water into the diamond-shaped depression.
Okay.
In the goddess's hands.
Brass watches with great interest as you do that, and there the water sits. Sorry, and I should say, as you entered this, the only other thing about this room that I haven't described that was obvious is on the left-hand wall as you entered, there is a passage leading away. That's the only exit out of the room besides the one you came by.
So I want to look around at all the pictograms of history and see if I can make any sense out of it and learn anything about this place or what happened to it, or if there's anything that talks about the flood that transformed the old dwarven kingdom into swamps, or if the people who carved or who lived up in the mountains were here more recently or anything like that? If there's any like, what's the last carving? Or,
Oh, wait,
says anything.
the goal here is to determine the most recent event.
Yeah. If there's any historical events that are carved into that.
Okay, you're going to be you're studying the carvings.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anybody else doing anything?
So when Amu took the water, nothing happened?
Nothing happened.
I'm going to take a handful and have a drink.
Okay. Let's see here. TO. Okay. So Amu, there's carvings in this room as well along the lower halves of the wall. So you're kind of studying the ones in the previous room and then also coming back in and studying these other ones. And Braz is kind of accompanying you and saying like, oh yes, and this must mean this. So he's kind of he's trying to like contain his excitement, and he doesn't want to like kind of speak out of turn in this holy place, but he's clearly super excited about all this new information. In fact, he's taken out a little writing kit and he's starting to kind of like make notes. Tio. So you cup your hands, you dip it into this icy cold water, you gulp it down, and look around, and everything comes into super sharp focus. Like every facet of each of these crystals, you can almost see an outline to it. So as you look around the room, it's close to like a vector graphic rendering of the room, right? Like you get this super sharp, every angle is crisp. You turn and look at Ozana is looking at you curiously because obviously she wants to know what happens if you drink the water. And like you can see every eyelash, every like pore in her skin because you're standing relatively close to her. So everything is super, super sharp in focus. And you are filled with a sense of resolve. You feel like whatever you put your mind to right now, you could do, whatever it was. And mark wisdom and strength.
Okay. That I just fill in a bubble. That's what that means.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm pretty intrigued by this giant statue. I want to figure out what if the there's something missing, or if there's something that we can place in the statue's hand to make something happen.
Okay. So you're going to be investigating that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is anybody else doing anything? And if nobody is, then Amu, make a perceive roll to see what you can suss out from all these wall carvings, and take +1 because Bras is helping you. So with them.
Yeah, so I got a 4 minus 1 plus 1, so still a 4.
And tell me again, sort of the kind of end goal for your hopes of deciphering what's going on.
I was really trying to learn about what happened to the Nurga, and like if this cave was like a place where they lived afterwards or anything like that.
You don't discern anything past the point. Bras points out something. There's a redrawing of the mountain in the main chamber, in this main temple or shrine chamber that you guys are in. The same mountain that appeared in the previous chamber. And there is a hole in the side of it. So Bros points out that appears to be, because of the very distinct profile, that it appears to be, what the heck was that mountain called? Mount Isto, right? The one of the two brothers.
Yeah.
He says, this strange mark, could it be a hole? It's kind of hard to decipher the carvings. And at that point, Ozana's torch goes like flump. It kind of like collapses to a like the flame collapses until just the red tip is visible, and then it sort of pops back into normal flame, and she kind of stands back and looks at it quizzically. And Tio, you look over at that. You're standing over near the hand, examining the hand. You look over at that, and you see a fluttering shape sort of move past, right at that moment, move past Ozana and Saphira, who's also standing right nearby. This kind of fluttering shape in the air passes, out of sight near them. And they appear, they both look at the torch, but they didn't notice anything else. But you appear to have seen something sort of fly by them.
Okay, I'm gonna pull out my warhammer and just yell, "We're not alone!"
Yeah, Amu.
Are we me and Brass in the other room still? Or
no, you're back you're in the main room now.
okay.
So you guys all hear Tio shout that. And Tio, you're looking still in that direction, around one of the columns from your perspective, near the ceiling, a shape, a kind of pale, smoky shape, like semi-amorphous, kind of lands, and it holds onto the column with looks like two clawed hands.
I'm going to look at where Tio's looking.
You see nothing unusual.
Does this resemble? Were they birds? Remember when we were getting attacked?
Yeah.
On the way up the steps.
Yep.
Does it resemble that at all, or?
The first thing that comes to mind is those other winged creatures, because they had a similar kind of semi-material quality to them. Like
okay.
Just the outlines weren't quite, they were shifting outlines.
Yeah.
And at that point, it launches itself off the column, and less like a bird and more like a bat, it appears to you all of a sudden, with a wingspan of perhaps 4 feet. Kind of launches off of the pillar and sort of makes a dive bomb towards Ozana, who is looking around along with Saphira, and they appear they see nothing.
I'm just gonna shout a warning, like duck.
Yeah. So you roll. What's that? Saphira?
I duck.
So you definitely duck. Claudio, will you roll for Ozana? 2d6 plus. Plus 2.
Plus 2?
Yeah.
So 8 plus 2.
Wow. Okay. So Ozana responds instantly to Tio's call, and hits the dirt, and the shape Tio swoops past her, up into the air, and lands on the opposite column. And looking up at it, you see 2 more clustered at the top of that column. So now there's 3 of these things that look like pale, smoky bats.
And I can tell that nobody else can see these things.
Yeah, at this point you can. It's clear.
Okay. I'm gonna shout, Saphira, you're gonna want to drink some of that water.
All right, I'll dive towards the.
You dive towards the font and
Yeah.
scoop up a handful.
Yep.
I'm also gonna like walk, like maybe try and taunt these things a little bit.
Okay.
Like swing my warhammer around.
Like, come at me, bro.
Yeah, come get me, foul beast.
Okay, calling out. Claudio, what are you doing in this situation?
If I'm close to the fountain, I'd like to try drinking as well.
You're gonna go for that too. Okay, so you guys both plunge your hands in the fountain. Let's see here. Okay, and okay. Okay, so Claudio, the same thing happens. You gulp, and you look around and you suddenly see these shapes, and they're kind of like crawling around the top of this column where it meets the ceiling, kind of peering. You can't make out eyes, but whatever heads they have, they're kind of like clearly peering down at Ozana. They're all looking at Ozana, kind of straining their necks to look in Ozana's direction. And you have this crisp, suddenly heightened perception of the whole room. Saphira, you gulp the water into your mouth, and it tastes like battery acid. It's like the most horrific, awful. And you have a moment where you can either spit it out or swallow it. It's not actually corrosive like battery acid, but has this awful, foul taste. So, would you like to spit it out or swallow it?
I think as a consumer of psychedelic things, I'm used to holy stuff tasting terrible.
So you're like, okay.
So I'm just like, yeah.
So you one big gulp. Roll Constitution.
Nine, but I have a 7 right now, so I have -1, so that's an 8.
Okay. You double over with incredibly painful stomach cramps. Just like instantly, you swallow that water, and your whole abdomen just like cramps up, and you're like, no.
I love how all of my fails are related to consuming substances.
You take a point of Constitution damage, so now your Constitution's 6, right? Amu, what are you up to?
Can I see what anything like what Teo is like looking at and gesturing? I look to try to see what he's.
Yeah, from where you are, you just hear the shouting. You look over, you see Saphira doubled over, and Teo is like taunting something that you can't see. They're at the other end of the chamber from you. You guys were closer to the entrance.
I'm just gonna hustle over there with my spear ready, and
Okay.
as soon as and see if I can see what he's
Okay.
get ready to fight about. I'm here to fight.
Okay, and Brass is right behind you. Claudio, when you look up and you see these creatures cluster at the top of the pillar, and then you glance down as Saphira doubles over in pain. Ozana looks a little. But Ozana is looking at you and how you appear to have been unaffected by the water, and then looking at Saphira, who has clearly been negatively affected. So Ozana feels a little befuddled, or not befuddled, but there's a dilemma. And as you look up at the creatures, 2 of them break away from the column and swoop towards Ozana. What do you do?
So I'm still near the water thing, right?
Yeah, and Ozana is is relatively close to it too. She's only, she's like an arm's length away from you. She's pretty close by.
And these things are like smoke immaterial.
They're like it's weird because they move as if they have mass, but their edges, their outlines are kind of blurry and smoky. And they're definitely indistinct, like you can't make out eyes or other details. And they're roughly bat-shaped.
Well, my first instinct would probably be to try to attack it with the spear, just as a reaction.
And are you gonna like throw the spear or like wait till it gets close and try to like stab it? And you have a shield too, right? You've got your
yes.
No.
Well, I'll throw it so that it gets there in time.
Okay, so as these two things are diving towards Ozana, you stand back and hurl the spear. Roll dexterity.
It's also my favorite spear.
It's also your
My favorite, yeah.
Right. So keep in mind that when you're doing moves with your favored weapon, you can spend metal. When you make a move with your favorite weapon, before you roll, you may spend 1 metal to take +1 to that roll.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, spend a metal.
Spend 1.
And take +1 in addition to whatever
Dex.
dexterity modifier. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oof. So 6 + 2 is 8.
Okay. So you will inflict your damage on this creature, but you have to choose. You can mark off 1 ammo, which in this case would mean your spear breaks.
Mm-hmm.
You had a bad angle on the throw, which means you roll damage twice and take the lower roll, or you attract unwanted attention. So you would do, in the first and last option, you do your full damage, but the first one you break the spear, second one you attract unwanted attention. And then the middle one is roll damage twice and take the lower roll.
I will take the lower damage roll.
Okay, so your spear does
D10. No, wait, no. Yeah, I don't know what it does.
Not Dungeon World.
D8.
D8.
Yeah. So roll D8 twice and tell us the lower roll.
All right, let's do this. Okay, so there's a 3 and a 5.
Okay. So you hit one of them and it kind of like, there's no perceivable sound, but you take it out of the air. Like when the spear hits it, it diverts it from its trajectory, and it tumbles and hits the ground, and your spear kind of clanks on the stone out of it. And the thing kind of rolls over and kind of on one wing kind of picks up, and its head shape kind of looks in your direction. So you definitely diverted it from what it was up to. And the second one continues on its way and lands right on the torch that Ozana's holding, and smothers it with its body, and the torch goes out. So the only light in the room, there's the faint light from all the crystals, but the only torch light is the torch that Amu is carrying. So Ozana's torch goes out.
But the crystals are all glowing lit too.
So from your perspective, what you see, Amu, is the spear go up, get diverted from its course, clank on the ground, and then the torch goes out in Ozana's hand.
So I can't perceive anything that's going on.
No.
Oh.
Clearly, there's some dark sorcery at work here, from where you sit. Anybody can act at this point.
Am I just doubled over in pain? Like, can I move or?
You can do stuff, but that's the condition. You've got incredibly bad stomach cramping, so you can act, but.
Okay. Do any of these crystals look like they're the shape of the hand?
The torchbearer crystals look to be about the right size, but without like dislodging one, you won't be able to tell what the base of it looks like. But in terms of size, the torchbearer ones look to be about the right size.
And are they really? They're quite large. They're like
yeah,
a big egg.
They're about like a foot tall.
Wow. Okay.
So you're thinking about that?
Yeah.
The two other bat creatures detach from the pillar and swoop towards Amu. Tio, they appear to be completely unresponsive to your heckling.
Towards Amu now, not towards Ozana.
There's one on Ozana's torch, one on the ground nearby, and then the two other. So there's 4 total now. 2 other ones are flapping towards Amu.
I'll yell out, Amu, shield. And I kind of raise my hand.
Okay.
I try to put my back against the pillar and hold my shield up.
Okay, great.
To deflect the invisible foe.
Right, deflect the invisible foe. I think you're gonna roll luck.
Okay.
Who knows the trajectory of this foe? You just gotta get lucky.
I rolled a 10 minus 1, so 9.
All right. So you back up quickly against one of the columns. Hold up it's a buckler, right?
Yeah.
Hold up the buckler and the torch back, and you hear there's like where you feel, I should say, a sudden impact kind of pushes you back against the pillar. Tio and Claudio, well, Claudio's paying attention to the immediate scene, but Tio, you're paying attention to Amu. The things kind of, one of them bounces off of Amu and the other one diverts its path to avoid running into the shield. Amu, the trade-off is you drop the torch. So the torch is on the floor.
All right.
Claudio. Ozana really doesn't know what to do, but she knows that there's something weird going on with her torch.
Can I try like stabbing I have a knife. It's like stabbing at the bat on the torch.
Yeah, so you draw your knife?
Yeah.
Do you give her any instructions, or do you just like go try to stab her torch? As far as
I just stab it.
Okay. I think so. The thing's not really paying attention to you, so it's not a straight up fight. You're just trying to hit it, and it's in motion, so it's a dexterity roll to do that.
Okay, sure. So 9 plus 1 is 10.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Deal your damage.
What is it? Knife's damage? Is it still a D8?
No, it's by a weapon. Either a D3 or a D4, but I don't. Where's my marketplace?
Oh wow.
My throwing knife's 1d4.
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay.
If that's the same as a regular knife, I don't know.
Let me just. It's here somewhere. I just gotta find it. Ah, there we go. Okay. Knife is 1d4.
Okay, got it. Whew. 2.
Okay. So you stick it in. You feel it resist. You knock the torch and the out of Ozana's hand to the ground. You've kind of cut the thing through its wing, where its wing meets its body. And so you get one good stab and pull the knife back, and it kind of like flops off, and then tries to get airborne. It gives a couple of like flaps, and then is unable to get airborne and kind of skitters away from you on the floor. The other one that you hit with the spear, sort of has recovered, and then both of them now are paying attention to you, Claudio. So there's this moment where you clearly have the attention of both of them, and you're standing there with your knife, and Azana's next to you looking at you. Saphir has got one hand on the ground and is looking around at the crystals on the statues. Also unable, clearly knowing something's going down, but unclear on exactly what.
Are they gonna fly at me, or I can
They
hold my
look
shield
like
up defensively?
they're kind of at opposite sides of you, so you're looking one way and then looking the other, and they look like they're about to make a move on you. Yeah.
I'll raise my shield and sort of try to step backward so that they're not flanking me.
Okay. Yeah. You sort of like retreat from the font, keeping an eye on both of them with your shield at the ready. Tia, what are you doing?
Okay, so now, all right, I thought I had an idea of what these things were about, and then it changed, and then I thought I had another idea, and now that's changed. I guess I'm just gonna the one that like just skittered away.
Yeah.
Or the closest one to me.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna run over and hit it
And just try to smash it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's paying attention. Yeah, to the land. It's not really looking at you. It's looking at Claudio, and you're running up behind it. But it's a little weird thing. So to land that hit will be dexterity.
Okay. 6 + 1, 7.
Okay. So deal your damage.
3.
Okay. So you bring it right down on top of it. But just describe to me how you, when you say you wanted to squash it, like what's the actual, like you run forward at it. You got your, for you, it's a two-handed hammer. Maybe that's one-handed in the hands of a human. Are you raising it over your head and doing this?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, it doesn't make any sound when you hit it. I just, but the hammer goes crack when it hits the ground, and the head snaps off your hammer.
No.
But the thing, there was this weird spongy give to it when it impacted it, and then it's just kind of a weird smoky mess on the ground. So you appear to have dispatched this one.
Okay.
Over to Amu and Brass.
I reach down and grab the torch and I shout, "What's going on? What's happening?" Does anybody respond?
I don't think
see
Theo is in a
I
position.
broke my hammer.
That's Theo's response from across the room. I broke my hammer.
What is it? What's attacking you?
So you say that, and then the torch that you're holding, you hear it, you feel it move a little bit in your hand, and that the firelight is beginning to be extinguished.
I try to jerk it away and start hustling over to the towards the big statue.
Towards them, where everybody else is.
Kiwi Aiti.
Okay.
And it's kind of like swinging the torch and my shield as I'm running, just kind of like trying to like deflect any invisible foes.
Toward
ducking and weaving.
Okay. You're trying to move quickly, and it's a dexterity, I think. +1 for you.
Yeah. I should roll dexterity?
Yeah.
Okay. I got an 11 + 1.
Whoa. Okay, so one quick shake and break away from the pillar that your back was up against, and you sprint across the room, and the torch kind of comes back aflame. And Brass confusedly runs after you. Oh yeah, Evaristo's been there this whole time. Totally forgot about that. So he is he's actually helping Saphira. He's like, "Are you going to be all right? Do you need more water?" And he sort of reaches out to get a handful of water, and he's trying to assist you. Okay, Claudio. So Tio has taken care of that one. So they appear to be, unless something's amiss here, they appear to be affected by physical damage. You've got your knife and your shield, and there's this other one was getting ready to lunge at you, and now it does it. It launches itself into the air and goes right for you. And as it does, kind of streak towards you, this weird, shapeless face, kind of, it's almost like smoke being blown a little bit by the wind, and it seems to part a little bit, and you perceive 4 dark circles that might be eyes of some kind as it lunges towards you. So what do you do? Claudio.
And it's right. It's coming straight for my head, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I think if I see it coming, I can react fast enough to try to. So shield up.
Yeah.
Knife. Yeah. Can I like either like stab into it or like try to slice it? However, knife.
Yeah, so which do you want to do? Do you want to? I mean, clearly you're waiting for it to get to you. You've got your shield up. You're in defensive position. Do you want to just sort of stab it head on as it reaches you? Do you want to wait till the moment and you cut it sideways? Totally up to you.
I think this is one of them more of like a strength thing, and
you're going to be rolling strength in both cases. It's just a question of what the possible repercussions are.
Okay. I think the saber thing to do is wait and then just time it right to slice into it.
Sideswipe. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Then you're going to be rolling strength. The move is fight. When you face a foe in hand-to-hand combat, or hand-to-smoky face, or whatever is coming at you, roll strength.
Okay.
And if you wanted to, or this is not your spear, so you can't use metal. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 7 + 1, so just 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to deal your damage, but suffer the enemy's attack as well. So roll D4 to deal your damage.
3.
Okay. So it's swooping at you right when it gets an arm's length away. You cut sideways with the knife. You sort of cut into its body, but it after the knife passes through it, it continues on its way, and it hits the side of your face right here, and it wraps its wings around your head, so you can't really see, and it's basically plastered to the side of your head, and kind of this weird flapping, lurching kind of motion, and you feel like, you know when you go to the dentist and you get a Novocaine shot? You know that feeling? You feel this piercing pain going into your skull right near the orbit of your eye as it kind of is like at this point it resembles less of a bat and more like a manta ray almost, right? Wrapped around your head. Kathira, do you want to do anything? Your mic's muffled.
Oh, sorry, I'm having so much lag that I can't get the microphone on and off thing to show up sometimes. I want to try to I want to see if I can lift up one of these crystals, maybe with Evaristo.
Okay, so you're gonna.
I can't see what's going on. So.
Okay, so you're like, come with me, and Evaristo kind of puts one arm around you and hobbles away from the fracas over to one of these statues, and then you're basically telling him to take one out because you're kind of right, and maybe together.
Yeah, I'm like this might be a terrible idea, but maybe it's a good idea.
Okay, so you guys are, well, you lay your hands on this crystal and nothing strange happens. It's quite, it's just sort of resting in whatever it's holding it. So you pull it out, no problem. So together you guys are holding one of these foot high by, maybe it's like 6 inches wide and it's just like this faceted crystal. Between the two of you, it's just cool to the touch. It gives off this faint glow from somewhere deep inside of it, or maybe it's refracting light somehow. And the base of it is cut in a similar way to the depression that's in the outstretched hand of the stone statue. Amu, you reach Claudio, who, knife out, shield out, is acting very strangely, responding to some invisible force in a very strange fashion. Amu, do you want to do anything? Your mic is Jan, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
Oh, thanks. I was trying to think of how to help without injuring Claudio. I just kind of shout like, "What is it? What is it?" And I kind of come over and see if I can, I just kind of like swing right next to Claudio to see if I can like make contact, because I made contact with one of these things before, and get like a sense of what's right there without actually hitting her.
Okay.
Him.
So Tio, after having the satisfaction coupled with the misfortune of breaking your hammer, you look up towards the font and you see exactly what's happening to Claudio, and then Amu right there swinging at the air around Claudio, but coming nowhere close to the thing, which is plastered pretty much to Claudio's head. And behind Amu, you see the other two creatures swooping through the air right towards Amu.
How far away am I from all
From
that?
Amu, you're probably 20 feet.
So I couldn't get there before they...
No.
I am going to say Amu duck, and I'm going to chuck my the handle of my
Nice.
thing at the one swooping down
Okay.
at them.
I'm gonna lunge forwards and drop my spear and tackle Claudio down to the ground as well.
Okay. Oh, great. Okay, awesome. So Tio rolled dexterity.
6.
So mark dexterity.
Okay.
Luckily, Amu and Claudio are both brought to the ground. So neither one of them was struck by your spinning handle. But it does hit Ozana.
Nice.
Actually, no. Ozana was too smart for that. When you said duck, Ozana also ducked, but it hits Bras. So he was running right behind Amu, and Amu hits the dirt, and clock, it just hits Bras right in the head and knocks him back, flat on his back. And the two bats drop right onto him because he's right there in front of them. So they just drop right onto his head.
Okay. That sucks.
Azana scrambles across the ground over to him, and sort of looking at him in sort of a panicked way, and then looking over at you, and is like, "What do we do?"
They're on their heads.
Claudio, what are you doing?
Drink the water.
I would probably drop or use my hands to try to pry it.
To try to
pry it off.
Let's try to yank it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I touch it?
So first of all, after that piercing pain that you felt, you take 1d4 damage.
Okay, sure. 3.
Okay. And then to peel that thing off of you, make a strength roll. What's your
what roll?
What's your strength roll?
Oh, strength. Okay. What was my what?
What's your current hit points? Are you level 2?
Yeah. So I went from 13 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So strength, I just rolled a 7, and then plus 1, 8.
Okay. So you realize that to pull it off, you can do it, but to do it, you realize that like it'll cause further damage to you. Like you have a sense of whatever it's got into you, which is not something necessarily physical. Whatever it's got into you, it almost has like barbs or something, and you feel like if you yank it off right now, it'll cause further damage to you. You can totally do it, but that'll be the repercussion.
So does it make sense for my options to be so either I do it or I don't do it, or
Yeah, you can leave it on there, and maybe there's some
right.
other way to get this thing off without causing further damage. But if you yank it off right now, it'll cause extra damage.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What would I do? Would I panic?
That's a really good question. Yeah, Claudio, man, has he ever encountered anything as weird as this?
Like, would I have the presence of mind to preserve?
Right. Would you just panic and just yank it off at all costs, or would you have second thoughts? Yeah, that's a really good one.
hmm. Well, I think because of my my youth, I probably would still try to solve things with my strength. So I'll pull it
Okay, great.
to take damage.
And you go, "Ah!" and you like hurl it away from you. And Tio, you from where you are, you perceive what looks like a silver kind of tendril or thread kind of detaches from Claudio's head. And Claudio, you take another D4 damage.
Okay. Okay. 3.
And you have a blinding, like the pain in your head is just like blinding. Like you can't even, there's a moment where you just can't see anything. Saphira, you and Evaristo have this crystal. And you've made your way over to the hand.
All right.
Which is full of water.
Yeah. Well, that'll just make it more conducive, right? So yeah, I'll say something like Kiwi Aiti, like take this offering and stop whatever is you're doing to us. And then I'll be like, okay, put it in the thing. All right.
She's just like, this thing? Okay. So together you guys, yeah, and set it in there. And nothing happens. Let's see. Oh, Azana's trying to get the things off of Brass's face. So the figure, why don't you roll for Azana? She gets +2.
Can she see the stuff?
No. She just knows that there's something on his face, and she's just she can actually feel it. Now that she's got her hands on it, she can feel it, and she's like trying to peel it off. So, Sophie, will you roll for Azana?
$10.
All right. So, Tio, you see Azana, blindly grabbing, and then she feels something, and she just yanks with all of her might, and Braz lets out a yell, and she flings the. Does she fling them? She holds on to them, so she can't see them, and they're like flapping around, and she's basically got her hands on them, and says, "Someone, what do I do?"
Crush them.
Can I try to grab hold of whatever she's holding on to and stab it with my knife?
Yeah, the immediate where you are in your vicinity, the immediate threat to you is the one that Claudio just pulled off his head. Brass and Azana are a little further away, but this Claudio just pulled something off of his head, and sort of flung it in your direction. And you actually, yeah, but I guess that one's pretty much invisible. So yeah, I guess for you, the most visible ones are the ones that Azana's holding. So you can run.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I have no fucking idea what's going on, but I know that Azana's holding on to something.
Okay. Yeah. So you run over there, and Tio has said, I think, smash them? Is that the...
Yeah, I think I would just reach out with my, I'm going to drop the torch on the ground, reach out with my open hand.
Yeah.
grab hold of whatever she's grabbing hold of, and with my other hand, take my knife and just try to, if I can get a hold of it, just stab it.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so then I can actually see with my empty hand, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So you try to lay hold of it and stab it, and I think that she's trying to hold it steady. So you make a dexterity roll and take +1 extra because Ozana's helping.
Ooh, I rolled a 4, then that would be a +2, so a 6.
You could burn a luck to get up to 7, but
No, it's all right.
okay.
Do I mark dexterity or no?
Yes. So you grab her hand, you go to stab at you feel something, and then you go to stab at it, and it hits her hand. She lets go of it, and then it sort of flaps and latches onto your face over one eye. So you just feel this pressure, this kind of spongy, it's almost like a giant cold crepe is pressed against your face. It's like a suction on your, and then this same kind of shot of Novocaine, a piercing pain starts to go into your head.
Well, I'm just ready to cut it off with the knife.
Okay, so you're gonna grab onto it.
You know, hold it with one hand, and then just try and slit its throat or whatever I can cut.
Cut the space between it and your head.
Yeah, I mean I can feel it, right?
Yep. Yep.
So if I close my eyes, I'm basically in a regular old fight.
Yep. It's like, yeah, wow. Okay, so you're kind of
I'm just grappling it, and then whatever meat I can hold on to, I'm just going to try to cut it.
Yeah, I think you just deal your damage. There's no roll there. I think that was a very. What do you got? Your knife or a dagger?
My knife out. Yeah.
So just deal.
If I'm going to be grappling, I want to have a knife, not a hatchet.
Yeah, so deal 1d4 damage.
3.
Okay, you cut it, and you feel this thread of pain draw out of your head, and then it's out of your hands. So you take that whole exchange causes roll 1d4 and divide the result by 2, or better yet, roll 2d4 and take the lower result.
A 2.
Okay, so you take 2 points of damage. Claudio is kind of blinded by pain momentarily. Tio, you're at this point at the font. You've reached the area. You see the one that Claudio threw to one side has recovered, and it's about to launch itself back at, actually, it finds itself near the torch that Amu just discarded. And it turns and lunges and wraps itself around that torch and extinguishes it. So now the only light in the room is the dim light from the crystal. So everything's kind of like a twilight. It's a very dimly lit chamber at this point. It's all just sort of shapes in the shadows.
Did they completely extinguish the one that Ozana had?
Yes.
So there's one in Ozana's hand.
That's right.
One that Amu just threw off, and I'm gonna, I guess whichever one I'm closest to, I will pull out my knife and stab at it.
Okay, I think it's the one on the torch.
Okay, yeah.
So you run past the font, you draw on your knife, and you sort of, it's on the ground, you like fall upon it and stab it.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing that it does, like wrap around it and
become your enemy.
Yeah.
Just deal your damage. You don't have to roll for that. It's a state.
Oh, just do so it's 1d4. 3.
Okay. So you fall on it and drive the blade through its spongy body and into the torch itself. And it gives like a convulsive flap, and one of its wings kind of flips up and wraps around. And you're looking at it as it kind of like slides. You know how like bats have those hands that are at the corners of their wings, right? So that kind of attenuated skeletal hand kind of like slides across your wrist and down to the ground, and you see it and feel it because you're right up against it. It starts to kind of turn into almost like a foam. It like starts to dissipate into like a smoky foam underneath you. Ozana.
Same as the other one from.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I mean the same kind of thing is happening to the previous one. And Saphira or Sophie, will you roll for Ozana to see how good she is at following Tio's advice to smash it? So 2d6 plus 2.
That's the 10.
So, Amu took one of the ones from Ozana. There's a moment where she sort of watches him in horror as it was stuck to his face. And then she turns to the column, and right about head level is one of these fist-sized crystals set into the wall. And she puts one hand on the column and whatever's in her hand, and she smashes it against the crystal. And those of you that can see that she does it with enough force against a sharp edge of that crystal that the thing sort of splats on the side of the column. The last one is the one that Amu cast away. Oh, and at this point, Amu, will you roll 2d6?
I rolled a 2.
Okay, it comes. Tio, you look up and you see the one has recovered on the side of a column, and it launches itself back at Amu. But you're the only one that sees that.
I'm a duck.
I'm good at ducking. I hit the ground on cue.
Okay, roll dexterity.
I rolled an 8 plus 1.
Okay, great. What's the trade-off here? Yeah, so you dive and roll to the side, and you feel it hit your shoulder. So it's not on your face, but it's on your body, and it's latched onto your shoulder, and you can totally feel it there. And you're wearing like leather armor or something, right?
I am wearing leather armor. I think I would, if I can, just try to grab it again with my free hand and then stab it with my knife.
Okay, so the same move before.
Yeah, just grab it.
Yeah, okay.
Didn't learn the first time. It's going to have to learn again the hard way.
Yeah, and so just deal your damage again.
1 point of damage.
Oh, so you feel this sharp, it kind of lurches up against your neck, and you feel the sharp pain go up like right behind your jaw right here. It just kind of pierces up into your jawbone. Take 1 d4 points of damage.
Okay. 3. Wow. Getting the worst end of the deal.
Although you have like 15 hit points now, right?
Yeah, now I'm down to 11.
You're down to 11, okay.
I had 16. Now I'm down to 11.
Okay, so so let's see. Claudio's recovered and is kind of staggering to his feet. Tio's right there. Ozana is, paying attention now. So the three of them are kind of nearby looking at you, and you feel this, the thing just went right up into your jaw.
I'm just rolling on the ground going, help, help, help.
And you're just cutting away some more?
Yeah, if I can, if nobody else is going to act first. But
yeah, it seems like you're closer than anybody else. I think to do it fast enough, roll dexterity. I think this is going to be the killing blow, but it might get further, more in on you before you make it go away.
I got a 12.
Okay. Yeah, rolling around on the ground, and then the final. And again, so this time when it pulls it, you pull whatever this wet, spongy thing is off of your head, and Tio, you see that when the body detaches, there's like a silver, the kind of broken end of whatever is inside him is kind of like hanging around the outside of his head right here. The thing hits the ground, and then sort of swiftly dissolves into this kind of foamy, smoky stuff. And then Amu, you still have this incredibly sharp, like out of your left eye. Wait, which eye was your squinty eye?
Oh, I think it was probably my right eye. I don't know.
So now, yeah, both your eyes are kind of shut. And then you're just kind of like, it's like, a really, it's like a wasp sting, the way you want to kind of scratch it, but there's no, and then you feel this invisible thread for a second, and then it just kind of disappears.
Ooh, yeah.
And we will call that battle complete. And it's just about time to wrap up, I think. Here we are at midnight. Is there anything anybody wants to do or say at the close of that exchange?
I'd like, if possible, to just have my spear back in my hand.
Yep. You recover that first thing, no problem.
Cool.
I'd probably let everybody know that there's no more things around.
You give the all clear.
Yeah.
On the smoke bat manta ray things.
Yeah.
I need to check to see if Brass was badly damaged. Uh-oh. Who am I going to entrust with this role? Well, Amu, Brass was keeping you company for most of your things there. Will you roll 2d6 plus 1 to see how well Brass fared?
Ooh. I rolled a 4, so 5.
Okay, and then roll 2d4 damage.
1 and 2.
Okay, so Brass appears to be dead. He's lying, unmoving. So you guys recover. Claudio gets his spear. Everybody's like breathing heavy. Tio gives the all clear. Ozana looks over and sees that Brass is just kind of lying on the ground. His skin is white. She doesn't run over. There's not like an emotional response. A look of concern crosses her face, and she walks over, rapidly, and bends down to see how bad it is. And we're going to roll. So he was reduced to 0 hit points. Whenever that happens, there's a good chance you're dead. But there's a move called Bite the Dust, which lets you know whether you're dead or not. And if somebody comes to check on your body, within a certain amount of time, there's a chance you can survive. So Ozana is now checking on Braz. So Sophie, will you roll 2d6 straight up to see what happens?
She has no luck.
Yes, she doesn't get a modifier for luck. Yeah.
8.
Okay. He just lets out this long, painful cry. And she sort of steps back from him. So he's alive with 1 hit point. Oh, shit. Okay. And he's seriously impaired because of the damage that he suffered. Actually, so he gives a gasp and then he falls back unconscious. But she's got a pulse and he appears to be alive. But he's suffered some, it says a major permanent injury of the judge's choice, but I haven't decided yet what's happened to him.
Can we like lay on hands?
Oh,
real quick to
yeah.
help?
Yeah, sure. When you call upon the power of your deity to heal a living thing which you are touching, do you call your fellow Caracolians over there?
Yeah.
Do it, okay. Evaristo, of course, is eager to assist. And Saphira, even with the difficult.
Yeah, I'll make an attempt.
Okay. But it sounds like you're the one who's doing it, Tio. So your companions will assist you. You'll get +1 for this. And you can roll wisdom or charisma. You have to burn a constitution to do this.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, wisdom and charisma are the same, so it's 10.
Okay. And what is your current favor?
2.
So it says they heal hit points and/or ability points equal to double your current favor. And what does it look like when you lay on hands? Is it just like, do you say any prayer? Or is it just like a silent concentration? Or
I would probably there's some moss that I picked up. Probably like take that out, rub it on my hands, and then like spiral.
Oh yeah.
Like make spirals.
Oh great.
On him.
Oh great. Yeah. So he within a few minutes, like color returns to his face, and he like opens up his eyes and is looking up at the 3 of you, looking over him.
What's your alignment?
Neutral.
What's the opposite alignment of neutral? Is there not?
There's no opposite.
Oh, okay. So you can lay on hands on anybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the advantages.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, well, I feel terrible. All right, well, you saved him. I mean, he's still going to have some long-term damage, but he's fully, you basically restored all of his hit points. All 3 of them. Well done. Okay. Here we are at the end of the session. Anyone fulfill an alignment goal? Just volunteer if you feel like you did. Okay, no takers on that one. Did you fulfill at least one trait in a memorable way? Anybody?
I lied a bunch.
And you're a liar.
A liar.
Yeah, you totally did. You faked everybody out while you're in the dark, misleading people left and right. You lied a bunch, but then at the same time, you're telling all kinds of truths. But I guess that's the way it goes. Definitely, you get an XP for that.
I think I was aggressive.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
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 Throwing my spear right away at the smoke things.
Yep. And I think that's a great trait for a fighter because you're going to be being aggressive a lot. So that's perfect. Like you definitely get an XP for that. Amu, impatient, gregarious, stubborn.
I mean, I was typically impatient, but not overly so.
You did just decide to climb up that thing shaft right after Tio. That counts. Yeah, you get an XP for that.
Okay.
Saphira, compassionate, cruel, and or decadent. You did. Your whole story in this session was drinking clear fluids, whether it's elf booze or stomach cramping dwarf water.
Could that be
Yeah,
decadent?
I think I need to do the sit down with the traits and
Yeah,
reassess. I just haven't spent the time on that yet.
yeah, because you can totally. All you have to do is shift one this session, and yeah. So why don't you try to do that between now and next session, or we can do it at the beginning of next session, whatever you want. That sounds good. Fighter, solve a problem with violence. Yes. Amu and Claudio, you guys get XP for that. Clerics, fulfill the tenet of your deity. Which is, remind me of the tenet of your deity, the transformation through, or no, for you guys have slightly different ones, right? Tio, yours is what?
Mine is transform both friend and foe, but Tio might have a different one slightly.
Mine is return that from which it came to be birthed anew.
That didn't really happen.
No, it didn't.
This because of what's been happening, and we got 3 clerics in the party, and everything. These tenets seem sort of hard to word in the first place, and then hard to fulfill as well. I'm going to be changing the XP trigger to be more like have something just to do with your faith, like embody your faith in some way. So it's a little more easy to interpret. And basically what it comes down to is Tio, you definitely did lots of clericy things. Like you guys got through that maze because you called upon your deity to good effect. So you definitely get an XP for that. And Saphira, what was did you do any clericy things? Did you?
She almost converted.
Oh.
Yeah, I did talk up
Ozana.
Karakal quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yep, you had a little, yep. Yeah, you get an XP for that too. I want to rewrite that trigger so it's a little more general and can be more applicable because really what the point of these things is to get you to encourage you to act in certain ways, and a little more, the specific thing in your tenet is just too hard to get every session. So behaving more like a cleric is the idea. And it could be something like, I mean, the laying on hands was a great example of what is classic cleric stuff. So I'm going to reword that. But for now, you guys each get an XP for that. Okay. Did you make an exciting discovery? Yes, you found the temple of whatever her name is. What is her name?
Kivi Aiti.
Kivi Aiti, the mother of stone. Everybody gets an XP for that. Did you overcome a difficult obstacle? There were at least 2 different difficult obstacles. So everybody gets 1 XP for overcoming those obstacles. Did you acquire some memorable booty? I guess the question is whether you're going to take any of this with you or not. I'm going to I think, well, we'll hold that XP in reserve because you didn't actually acquire it yet. Yep, you found it, but you haven't decided to take it home with you or not.
Right.
An unexpected cultural dilemma. When treasure hunters have a conscience.
Right.
Okay. So,
And then humans get an extra, right?
yes.
Jason, when I failed my wisdom roll earlier before when we were looking at runes and stuff like, or looking at the pictograms, should I mark that?
Yes. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that.
Do you usually mark it whenever you fail a roll, or is it there's some times that you don't?
The only thing you never mark is get lucky. You don't get nothing good happens when you roll a 6 or less. Everything else you either mark the stat or you mark XP in general.
Oh.
So yeah, and I have not been consistent in reminding you guys about that. So that might have happened more than once.
Okay. I just remember one time and I didn't ask you.
Yeah, okay. Has anybody's ability scores gone up because of that yet? Nobody yet?
Yeah, my wisdom went up from 7 to 8.
Okay, cool. All right.
Does that just happen when you fill it up, or do you have to rest?
No, it's when you fill it up, it goes up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, you guys.
Great.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
I think we're on the calendar for next Thursday too.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's a chance that I might be a little bit late, depending on if rehearsal happens.
Okay.
I should be able to make it by 9:30ish if that's the case.
Okay. And if it comes to if we need to cancel it or whatever, yeah. So 9:30 could be fine because we could just do some well, you're the person in the greatest moral dilemma though with all these crystals of your ancestors around. Yeah, and then we have a session scheduled for the following Tuesday. So even if we cancel next week, that's fine. But we can work with being late.
Okay.
The 6th, is that right?
Whatever the
Next Thursday.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
Yes. All right, awesome. Yeah, and Sophie, just take a look at the if you look at the playtest docs, under the wrap up move is the steps to go through when you want to shift your traits. All right. All right.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks. Awesome.
Yeah.
Jason, are you going to watch the Deadwood movie tomorrow?
Is it tomorrow? Is it
It's tomorrow.
I won't have time tomorrow.
Well.
I'll put it on my list though. Thanks for reminding me. God, I had totally forgotten about that.
I just heard, I was like listening to NPR on the radio and they were like, tomorrow Deadwood comes back. No. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Same actors?
Check it out.
Yeah, it's only missing a couple of people.
Huh.
I just want Calamity Jane to come back.
Oh, she's in it.
Yeah, she's so great.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna be. I've been drawing some fan art like this whole time.
Of Deadwood? You've been drawing Deadwood fan art? Can you wait?
Ooh.
Oh, there it is. Looking young. That's from her youth.
Yeah. I haven't dirtied her up enough. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.